My name's Natasha B. Russell, aka NBR, and who am I? What do I do? I'm an entrepreneur, full-time entrepreneur. I've been doing this full-time for over 2 years. Woohoo! Yes, for many of you who know what entrepreneurial is about, it is not an easy journey. But when you love what you do, it makes a difference. You're excited to get up every day and say, who can I serve today? Who can I help today? And that's what I get to do. So I'm the founder of NBR Strategic Solutions. And what do we offer? We offer coaching, speaking, and communications and public relations consulting services. I'm really passionate about helping everyone that I possibly can, entrepreneurs, that's who I usually work with, entrepreneurs, leaders, CEOs, and helping you to achieve greater success in life and in business. And how do I do that? I do that through a variety of techniques, coaching techniques. I focus on confidence, communications, mindset, your thought process, habit coaching, because everything we do is about habits, strategic planning. You need a plan to succeed, clarity around your purpose, your life. What does that look like for you? And then I work with you one-on-one and help you to create that, visualize it, and then achieve it. So I love what I get to do every day. And then I also host events. Many of you who know and have been there to some of my events, now they're on virtual for men and women. Yes, men and women. And I do them to empower you to truly believe in yourselves and your purpose, because we all got a purpose. And then to help you, support you with the resources and the tools to achieve the goal, to achieve that big dream. And things take time, people. Every day I believe we should be growing, we should be evolving. That's what life's about. I also, like I said, do communication PR. I focus mainly on strategy. Strategy is key. And I have a team to help you build, the other things like your website or social media, so forth. But I mainly just focus on strategy. That's what I love to do. So now you know a little bit about me. So without further ado, yes, Dr. Unati, this lady, I'm telling you. So if you all recall, several months ago, before COVID hit, I said, men, I want to do something for you. I really do. Because I know I do my ladies boss up seminar every November. Men are like, what about the men? So I said, okay, I'm going to do something just for the men too. And then I ended up connecting to this beautiful lady that you're going to meet shortly, Dr. Unati, on a WhatsApp group for Black professionals, business owners. And she's passionate about men's health. I was like, what? Okay, we got to do something. So we're planning a webinar, October, November. We haven't decided the date yet, but we connected. So today we're talking about men's health, because men go through a lot of things too. And honestly, I was thinking, and I've been thinking, why is it that research states that men die a lot sooner than women? And we need men too, right? We need men, we need women. I'm all about women empowerment. I'm a woman as well, of course, but we need our men too. We need them to be healthy and strong. And I feel like as a man, I'm not a man, but from what I've heard from my male clients, they don't feel like they have the right to express emotion. They got to be tough all the time. They got to be macho. They can't cry, or they're weak. These are all things that I want to debunk today. Men have feelings too, and they need to be recognized. So a little bit about Dr. Unati. She has an extensive bio, people. I'm going to allow her to share a little bit more. But she's a family physician. She's originally from South Africa. She was living in Saskatchewan in 2010. And then she later moved to beautiful Alberta, which is where I am in Calgary, in 2014. So she's been here for a while. She's the founder of United Medical Clinic in Calgary, Canada. She's also the medical director and a host of Black Mental Health Matters. It's a show that happens weekly, and it's for the United States of Africa. She is the first female Black physician in Canada that hosts a mental health talk show. She recently launched her online course called Men Get Depressed Too. Oh my gosh, this woman is amazing. Her energy, people, is phenomenal. And she's passionate about what she does. So without further ado, you're looking gorgeous. How are you? I love your hair.
You too. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Beautiful weather. I was a little like, oh my God, fall's coming, but today is a hot day. So I'm enjoying it. I went and did a little barbecue, as like when I got with Natalia, did a little barbecue. Now we're here, but she's upstairs, so we're good. And how was so you came from work, or you've done work now, obviously, but
you know what? I'm working from home, so I'm actually on self-isolation. I travel.
Yeah. Oh, you traveled, yeah.
Yes. So I'm working from home, but it's good.
Okay, well, welcome officially to the NBR Show. I'm so excited to have you. finally we connect, and people out there, like I said, you have questions for Dr. Unati as we go through, or for myself, feel free to put them in the Q&A bar or the comment section, and we'll get to them. So the first question I love to ask people that I chat with is, who are you? Who's Dr. Unati?
Oh, that's lovely. I love introducing myself. Thank you so much, Tasha, for bringing me here. It's a lovely show. I follow your work. It's lovely. Yes, I'm Unati Mkiwane. As you said, I'm from South Africa. I came here in 2010. I'm a mom to two beautiful kids. I'm a lover of life. I'm a lover of life, and I love what I do. I'm just about influence. You know, men, women, kids. It's just my passion. My theory, or probably my mantra, is I'm living my life urgently, but not carelessly, but urgently. I'm chasing my dreams, and I've been blessed. I've achieved almost everything I ever dreamed of. So yeah.
Congratulations. I love that. I'm living my life urgently, people.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think we have so much time, but no, every day that we get to wake up is a blessing, and we need to use that time effectively.
Absolutely.
So I love that you said that, and your passion for helping men, women, youth. Like I said, we have so much synergy, and I'm so excited that we connected. The funny thing is, people, we haven't met in person yet. We've just met online in conversations, but one day I know that's going to happen very soon. So why don't you share a little bit about like a funny fact that maybe somebody or people, your friends, family might not know about you?
I know, right? Actually, I'm an easy book. I'm full of life. When I meet you, we just connect. My mom or my friends always say, "How do you know that person? You just got there, and we're friends with all these people." So I'm just a friendly person, butterfly. But as much as I'm adventurous, I'm scared of heights. Oh my gosh, I'm scared of heights. One time I was in Switzerland, I wanted to skydive, and I chickened out. So yeah, I cannot. Yeah, I can't. And also swimming, I nearly drowned just when I was finishing my residency. Yes, so I can't swim. I'm scared of it. So yes, that's just about me, and I'm very stubborn. My friend, actually, my colleague is online here, Dr. Yvonne Kankak. She'll tell you that I'm stubborn.
Really?
And it's all because I'm very adventurous. I go for what I like, and yeah, I'm fearless.
I love that.
As much as I'm scared of heights, but I'm fearless in most things.
No, you know the funny thing is, I'm scared of heights too. I actually like don't mind like going in a plane, to like not going hiking up the hill. But if it comes to like standing on a bridge or like walking across I have to take a lot of deep breaths to make it across. So I think, we all have our own fears, and maybe one day, I don't think I'll ever do skydiving, but I might do something close to it. Like even, in Banff, they have the gondola. That for me is a fearful feeling.
Really? I've done that a few times for some reason. I'm not scared of that, but no, not skydiving. I was scared. I was like, okay, I still have a kid back home, and I was like, I'm not doing this.
Right? You still got to be smart. Not that, it's safe, but things can happen. So I hear you on that. So we know a little bit about what you do for fun. I guess, what do you do when you're not working, actually, for fun? Where can we find Dr. Unati?
Love my travels. I'm spontaneous. One time, actually, when I used to work out in the small town, I just decided, let's drive out to New York. Okay. And yeah, we drove for 4 days, and yeah, so I love fashion. I love travels. I love my running. I love getting together with friends. It's been busy, but I love basically to get together with friends and family. So yeah, that's mostly what I love doing. Just love laughing. Yeah. If I could, Dr. Kankong can tell you here, we just call each other and just laugh at nothing. Sometimes we just laugh at crazy things. So yeah, she's easy like me. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just taking life easy, honestly.
That's important, right? You gotta laugh, especially with everything that's happening in this world, can be so depressing. You gotta find something to laugh about every day. I personally do that. Find something to laugh about, comedy, whatever that might look like. And I encourage you guys to do that too. So for those of you on Facebook or on Instagram, feel free to come join us, because we're talking about men and their health and why that's so important. So, okay, so you've been a family physician for how long now?
For 14 years. Yes, I'm going for 15 years. Yes, time flies. You never know. Fun, right? No, it just keep going. Exactly. Yeah. I've worked actually here more than in South Africa. I came here when I just finished my 5 years, and then I started in January of 2010. It's been fun.
Good for you. Well, wow, you 15 almost years. Okay, people. So she knows what she's doing, obviously. And what do you love most about being a doctor?
I love just working with people. Actually, when I wanted to specialize, I was thinking, should I go for either psychiatry? Psychiatry was always, because I love human behavior. There's something about humans in general. So I wanted to do psychiatry, and then I decided to come to Canada. I decided to keep on family medicine. So it's because I love people. I love family medicine is fun because you explore every day. Every day it's a new day for you. You never know. You could never be prepared of what's gonna come to you, because we see kids, we see adults, we see old people, we see women, men. So it's fun. And now with what's happening in the world, there's transgender, what is it, lifestyle. Now, we have to see those type of people too. So it's been fun learning about that too. So that's what I like about medicine, and also just family medicine. You just learn everything, and you know what, it's learning every day. And the fun thing about it, if you don't know, you tell your patient that, I'm gonna look into this actually. So that's the fun part, being open to learning new things.
I love
So
that.
yeah.
And I believe in that. I think that we should all be continually learning, especially in our craft, our area of
Yeah,
expertise, whatever that is. We should be a continual lifelong learner, right? We should never become stagnant or comfortable, because there's always something to learn, right? So I
yeah.
love that. So
Yes.
the rewards of being a doctor, but on the flip side, can I ask you what are some of the challenges?
Oh yes, it comes with its challenges. Early in your career, you do feel bad when you miss a diagnosis.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, now you never get used to any diagnosis when it's missed. It gets better with time when you understand that, you know what, you're not perfect and you're not always gonna do the right thing, right? The key thing is keep learning. You keep empowering yourself. That's why it's important for us to attend the seminars. The colleges expect us to do these things because they know that medicine evolves, right? So that's
Absolutely.
one difficult thing, but it gets better, right, with time. And also they're telling the bad news when you have, because as a family doctor, your patients become your family. They get to know you, get to know about their dogs, about their kids, about their Natalias, about their kids graduating. So you become part of their lives, right?
Yeah.
So you lose them, you feel it. I've cried with my patients. It doesn't get easy, not at all. So you connect because some physicians have had their patients for 30 years, 40 years. So they become part of you. You know their last names. I mean, their first names, their grandkids' names. So that's the hardest part. They're telling the bad news that you have cancer, you have X number of months to live. That's the hardest part. It's
Oh,
difficult.
wow. I know.
Yeah, that's most.
I couldn't do what you do. Honestly, as I said, everybody, we got a purpose and you got to find that and fulfill it. But for me, that, nursing, like my mom's in nursing, I couldn't do that. It's just not
Right.
something I personally could handle. So
Yes.
what you do and how you serve your patients. So let's get to the topic at hand. So today we're talking, that's what I'm saying. Like when we met, remember, I was like, oh my God, you want to talk about
I
mental health?
know.
I've been looking for someone to partner on this, and the
Yeah.
synergy was just there. And I think there's this, preconceived notion that men don't have feelings, men can't show emotion, men can't cry because they're weak if they do. And men have, especially a lot of the men clients that I work with, can't share that with anybody because they can't, not even their wife or their spouses, because they don't want to be looked down upon or feel like, oh, they're weak. So today we're talking a little bit about, things that are men, especially with COVID. A lot of men have lost their jobs, are struggling with depression, anxiety, alcoholism, drug abuse, and all these things. Are you seeing an increase in your practice with certain cases with regards to men and what they're dealing with?
Absolutely, Tasha. You know what? It's a global issue, actually. It's interesting that we are doing this show today because tomorrow is the international, it's actually the World Suicide Prevention Day, tomorrow, the 10th of September. Yeah, so I'm grateful that you are doing this show today because it's important that men who are watching us here or who will watch to realize that you are vulnerable as girls, as women too. You are humans. I always say we birthed boys, right? So what happens to that love we have for them, and for them to be vulnerable and feel the same pain we feel as their counterpart? So that's my starting point, that as we look forward to tomorrow, this awareness that was launched back many years ago, if I'm correct, it's 2013 or 2003. They came up with today because men are committing suicide more than women. And the sad part is every year we lose 800,000 people, Natasha. to suicide.
800,000.
800,000, not men, but just generally the whole. Yes. So it's a crisis. It's a crisis. And the sad part in that number, 15 years to late 30s, that's the commonest age group. Young teens, yes, as young as 15 years on the stats when you look at World Health Organization. So there's a crisis, then we need to do something differently. So honestly, I'm passionate about it because, like we said in the beginning, it has grown with all the COVID-19. Men lost jobs, as you already said. And I started actually doing this campaign in May because also domestic violence has increased, yes. And again, like you said in the beginning, men tend not to have an outlet. And who usually becomes their victim, unfortunately, it's their spouses or their partners or their children, right? So a lot of times, I would like us to pay attention to the symptoms of depression. For men, sometimes it can be a little bit different compared to women. Men could be depressed by presenting to you with headache or back pain or stomach ache, diarrhea, weight loss, right? And they present with those vague symptoms, and you could easily miss that they are depressed. And the sad thing is, men present to us after probably a year after being depressed, because again, it goes back to how they are raised. It's across culture. Boys are raised to be strong.
Yeah.
Right? So that's basically what happens. And then they learn to internalize their emotions. They repress and suppress their emotions. And that's basically why they end up committing suicide, because they reach a point where they can't take it anymore. So I would like us to change that narrative. Men, I like a man that cries. I love my patients when they cry. I love, yes.
Showing them healthy, right?
Yes, I love when my patients cry, and I say, you know what? Do it again next time when you come here. It's very important. Some of them, when they come, they don't feel like, I don't want to feel stupid. I don't want to cry. And once they start, because I do let them be vulnerable. I touch on those sensitive spots. We have to learn to touch on or hit the sensitive spots on men, because they are beautiful humans. They are beautiful species. People tend to miss that about men. Men, I always say, men, all they need is someone who's going to understand and get them. Right? Someone who's going to listen. Men, I always say, if we don't get to that level where they at, they will remain in that shell. And that's why they explode. Right? So to be honest, I love it when they cry. It's important.
I hear that. And I agree, because I remember when I made my first video was back in 2017. And the reason I did is we were going through a recession. Well, now I guess you can say we're still doing that. But
I know.
And I was working in corporate at the time. And I just heard suicide rates were going up in Alberta, especially men. Men in the corporate world who had lost their jobs. They couldn't pay the bills, couldn't pay the mortgage. And they were the breadwinner, and they were committing suicide. I remember that video I made was like, people, men, whether there's hope, there's faith. As long as you're still living, you're still breathing, you can get the help you need. Like losing a job, yes, that's hard. Being in debt is hard, but you can overcome that. But I think sometimes people forget it's a mindset thing too, right? Someone made a post the other day and it was like, they said, imagine being up for like 14 hours straight, day in, day out. That's sort of what it feels like to be depressed every day. Like you just feel mentally exhausted, right? And so when men feel like they can't share their feelings, whether it be with their significant other, like I have clients who are like, I can't share that with my wife. She's going to think, what? You're a man. Toughen up, right? But he'll come to the sessions and that's where he's vulnerable. And for me, like you said, it's beautiful when a man can show emotion. I think sometimes we think only women cry. Only women can, we say we're sensitive. But men have feelings too. And so that's why it's so important to have this conversation. So you talked about some of the symptoms, that men, you can, say maybe they're, depressed or whatnot, and how that has led to even an increase in domestic violence. Because sometimes I think we don't realize that everything's connected, right? Like everything's connected. If a man is having these outbursts, or one day, you're realizing he's becoming very angry, it's the root of something. And sometimes, and most times with my clients, it's from childhood. Things they dealt with their childhood. Parents, their father was a bit rougher on them, didn't hug them, didn't tell them they loved them. And then it goes into the relationships with their wives or their partners. they don't say, they're not very affectionate because they don't even know how to show affection because they weren't taught affection, you know? So really good points there. So what are some things that you do in your to help your men patients overcome depression or maybe
Right.
alcoholism or drug abuse? Let's talk a little about those things that people don't really want to talk about.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Just touched, you know what, Tasha, you just touched on childhood. A lot of times, depression is multifactorial, by the way. We're going to touch on that shortly. But a lot of times, a huge, like a chunk of depressive component is childhood. You know, the trauma that happens in childhood. A lot of times, parents were not there. There's actually, in the studies that just came out recently, in the recent years, there's a study that was done by Kaiser Permanente Institute and CDC in the States. They basically looked at actually graduates, people that were educated, and looked at these probably 15,000 people, and they did this study of people and looked at their childhood. And there was exposure to trauma, you know, growing up with an absent parent. You know, your father, your dad was never there, or your mom, or there was abuse, emotional, sexual, and of course physical, or maybe one of your relatives, either a parent or an uncle, an aunt, was incarcerated, right? Or probably there was violence where you grew up, right? And also either there's alcoholism, or maybe some of the members were depressed. You know, I'll talk about coming from Africa. It's something that we're still talking about in the surface in Africa, because mental health has a huge stigma. And that's why we started that show, to basically eradicate that narrative, right? That yes, Black people get depressed too, right? So yes, that's very important, like any other race. Okay, so that's basically another factor that contributed to this trauma. So all these things, and also living in poverty. I know that a lot of times people come out of poverty, either, yeah, they become resilient and they dream big, but some people, it depends on your coping skills, really. So all those factors contribute to how you're going to turn out in adulthood. And actually, these factors I just mentioned, they also increased the chances of people abusing alcohol or drugs, or even other conditions like diabetes, chronic diseases like lung, like people, they become smokers, they do not care about their weight, they become obese. These things are interconnected. All goes back to the changes of brain when this trauma happens in childhood. So these are the issues that I start. So I always go back. You know, there was always this, what is wrong with this person? And I must say that I've said those things too, but I've changed the way I say that. What happened to you? It's very important to know what happened to a person, because once you understand these adverse childhood experiences, they are called ACEs, you get to appreciate people and understand where they're coming from, and then you meet them where they're at. Right? So that awareness, that's where we start. That's where we start. I go back to your childhood. And I know that it's uncomfortable to go to our childhood, because it's not that all rosy, right? But that's the beginning. That's the beginning of healing. So I go back to those stories, and it's hard. So it takes some few sessions for some men to really open up. And a lot of times men were molested. There's a lot of boys that we know about things that happened in scouts, you know, those organizations, or people who went to churches like Catholic. We've had, even here in Canada, hearing in the world, basically, even in the States, the stats of people that came out talking about the fathers that molested them. So men are dealing with stuff like that. Like you mentioned, they're scared to talk about it to their spouses or their partners because they will feel judged, right? So there's so much trauma people are carrying around. We don't know what happened to them. And sometimes, a lot of times, men, because of that trauma, they either succeed in another part of their lives. You see them doing good things in the society. They become big CEOs of big companies. And then, but they are struggling with alcoholism. You wonder how on earth this man is doing it. This man has a successful career. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got a beautiful, like, family and all, but he's struggling inside. He's showing up to those avenues, but internally he has low self-esteem. It's because of trauma. Yes.
So true, sis.
Yes.
So
Yes.
true. Like, I have a client, you know, well, gotta be correct, but was a CEO of a company, very successful, ended up walking away due to mental health, you know, issues, shall we say, or not just say issues, but couldn't really handle the stress and everything. And like you said, a parent who the organization as everything's good, but behind closed doors, the marriage is going down the drain. No time with the kids, feeling like a failure, low self-esteem, and eventually just had to walk away from it all to save the marriage and save this peace of mind. And I want to touch on the coping thing, because a lot of people think you're bad because you're a drug addict or an alcoholic, whatever. But that's just how you cope with what you're dealing with. That doesn't make you an actual bad person. And I love what you just said about how now you say, what's wrong with you? You say, what happened to you?
What happened?
Because
Yes.
a lot of men and women, we go through childhood trauma, and some of us are able to deal with it and recover and lead healthy lives. And some of us, we keep it as baggage and buried and think that, that drink or that shot of this or whatever is going to help to suppress those feelings, until eventually you get to a point where you're at your breaking point and it's like, I don't see a way out. So that's sometimes where they lead to severe depression, or they just end their lives, which is what I never want to see happen. Now, we got a comment here. I do want to read it. VRT 2019. And Tension Boss said, sometimes I'm the business. I don't know what you mean, Tension Boss. Feel free to reframe your question. But it is definitely a mindset thing. That's why it's so important to be careful how we handle people, because you never know where a person is mentally, especially during these times. So true, because we are so good at appearing to society like we have it all together, because we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to be looked down upon. We don't want to be criticized, so it's hard to open up. So, which is why it's so important to have doctors and coaches like us. I'm not a doctor, but I'm a coach, to support you in what I call unraveling all that trauma and having those breakthrough moments. Like you said, Dr. Unati, for men, like I've had, usually it takes like the 6th session where they feel comfortable enough to say, okay, hey, like this is really what's going on. I came to you for my business, but underneath it all, there's all these things I need to unpack first so I can be healed, like get true healing. And again, childhood traumas, that they're dealing with that they've never actually dealt with and have suppressed. So what are some things that, and people out there, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. What are some things that you would say on your end that you support your patients with doing to overcome depression or alcoholism or drug abuse? What are some things that you would recommend they do?
Yes, awesome. You know what? Like I said, usually we go back, we trace it back. Where is this coming from? So once we understand that, because once we get that self-awareness, it opens you to another world, really. So that's when we start. And of course, I don't work alone. That's why there's psychologists there, there's counselors there, there's life coaches like yourself there. So we see where things are lacking, right? So therapy is very important. And I love actually the trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, because it changes that mindset. It gets to those thoughts, because a lot of people believe that they are not good enough. And probably that's what they were told. There were parents that would tell them that you are stupid. We need to be careful with name calling, because people believe those words, right? And we believe them to adulthood. And even if you are this smart person, like I was saying, I've met really good CEOs, like amazing people who are doing great things, multi-billion dollar companies leading them, but they don't believe in themselves. I've met them here in Canada and across, around globe in my travels. So it has nothing to do. That's why actually I do not define success by money, because success to me is holistic, really. It's how we feel about ourselves. For me, success is your self-esteem, because you could have $0 today, but if you know who you are, right, that's success to me. And if you know who you are and the dreams you have, and having that intact self-esteem and that personal power to know how to get to that dream, to me, that's success, right? So honestly, for me, that's the starting point, and also the referral to the other allied health professionals. And also, if there's alcoholism, you mentioned that we also work with rehab units. So it's a multidisciplinary team, honestly. And of course, we do involve family, because a lot of times I've had clients where they want me to be the one spilling the bill to the spouse, right? It has been difficult in the journey, because sometimes they are scared to talk about it to their spouse, right? And I actually want to touch on sexual health too, because sometimes it could be an issue with diabetes. If you are diabetic, you could have some erectile dysfunction or stress. Now, this is the time where we are all struggling with stress, right? Stress could lead to depression or could cause that anxiety. Men, sometimes they are unable to perform or to have that normal erection. So that could actually bring a lot of issues emotionally, right? So this is the time where they need to connect really closely with their spouses or their partners at this moment, because stress has a humongous effect on our bodies.
Yeah.
That could actually lock you up, right? So that's
Absolutely.
the issue. So we always talk about it. The way I make it easy for my patients is when they come in for their physical examination, we talk about that. How
Yeah.
are things at home? Like, we talk about their sexual, it has to be part of the normal conversations we have, right? So that's the most important thing I also mentioned, because a lot of times men are depressed because they cannot have that erection. And I always tell my patients, once you hit 40, unfortunately, all men that hit 40 have that risk. Some are lucky, they will not have an erectile dysfunction, but
That's so young.
40%, yes, studies show 40% of men who turn 40 and above will have erectile dysfunction. So it's something that is inevitable, right? So that living healthy we talked about, you need to look after your health, because being diabetic could predispose you to erectile dysfunction, right? Or being obese, or if you have high cholesterol. So these are the things that are interconnected. So living your life healthily is also important, and drinking minimally. For a man,
Yes. Alcohol,
yeah,
right?
yes, because a lot of times if you drink more than 2 drinks, which is 12 ounce, each drink should be 12 ounce, I believe. If you more than 2 drinks a day, that's a little bit excessive,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those are the key things that are very important. We need to look at what are the risks for this person, and then we tackle them, each one of them, and also doing the referrals and working together, and also helping them to be compliant, because men, again, they tend to slack because unfortunately they always scared to show up. They always feel that they failed, all those things. They have these high expectations. They have high expectations of themselves. And again, it's how we are raised. There's this high expectation of boys and men, right? So it's just being patient on themselves and just getting that support. So family support, their doctor's support. And I always say, fire me. If you cannot connect with me, fire me, right? So it's very important to connect with your family doctor.
Yeah.
That's why it's called family doctor. You have to feel free to be speaking to me about anything, right? You have to
Yeah.
show up in a vulnerable state. So fire your doctor if you can't connect with, or your psychologist or your counselor. It's very important. But I just want to emphasize the type of counseling people who went through trauma. You definitely want to definitely go for a trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy psychotherapist for sure.
I You just said so many things that I want to like pick on for a little bit. So
Right.
all points, right? Stress, people. I honestly believe, Dr. Yanni, that stress is like the number one killer, because I believe stress leads to a lot of illnesses in the body. If you don't manage it, now I can't prove it, but especially with men, when they say that research proves that men die significantly younger than women, I feel like because men deal with a lot of stress and they have no outlet, and it takes men longer to go to a doctor. They'll be having issues, but no, I'm fine. Just keep putting on the back burner. And if they only went sooner, they could have corrected the issue, or probably, even for certain cancer, they could have, found treatment soon enough and still been around. So men have to start asking for help too. And it does take courage when you're told that you're supposed to act a certain way, be a certain way. Men don't show emotion. Men can't ask for help. But you're actually, one thing I've learned too, even as a female, is that to cry, you can cry, and it shows strength. To be able to show your emotions means that you're actually strong. To keep yourself closed in and to keep all those emotions in means that you're very, it sounds negative, but a bit weak, on the weaker side. It takes strength to ask for help. It takes strength to say, hey, this is not okay. I'm not feeling well. And even like based on my research and my studies too, when men start feeling insignificant, or they can't perform sexually because of stress or abusing alcohol or whatever that may be, that can lead to infidelity too, because
Yeah.
they're looking for an outlet. So they love their wife or their significant other, but here they are, well, I can't, this is my band-aid, this person over here is my band-aid, because I don't want to really deal with the pain or that feeling of failure, that I have within. So men, you're strong. You got to just ask for the help. And I'm not expecting too many to ask questions on here, but just to listen in and to know that it's okay to ask for help, to reach out. Because stress, I feel like if we can maintain our stress levels, we're going to always have a little bit of stress. But how we cope with it, how we maintain that is what's going to give us that longevity. God willing, that we're going to live longer to do great things and to be around in our 80s and our 90s, and some people in their hundreds. It can be done. You know, it seems like the stats are decreasing. People are dying so young nowadays, and it's scary, right? So our health is our wealth. And you talked about resources. Is there a line that men can call specifically to talk about some of these concerns if they don't feel comfortable even talking to their family doctor? I'm curious.
Right, yes. Here in
Yeah.
Canada, globally, even where I come from, South Africa, there's always hotlines and they are free, right? So
Mm-hmm.
look up in your country what hotlines they have. And here in Calgary, there's many places actually like Distress Center. We refer also to there's Catholic, I think the Catholic Family Services. There's so many, like honestly, it's just Googling hotline, mental health hotlines. There's so many here in Canada and globally. Honestly, you can always look. And now with all what's happening, things have gone virtual. There's a lot of texting too. I find, man, you know what, with what's happening now, we have switched our services to telemedicine where patients are talking to us either by video or texting. So, you know, I found when I work on the platform, I see a lot of men wanting to talk, to text more about their erectile function issues, or they feeling they are suicidal. Actually, the studies show women have more suicidal thoughts than men, but men do it. That's the sad part. As
Uh-huh.
much as men will commit suicide, women actually have more, probably 10 times more suicidal thoughts than men. And I guess men is because when they focus on something, they're busy with stuff, right? That's how their brain is wired, right? But
Yeah.
unfortunately, men, they tend to be successful with when they get that suicidal thought, they unfortunately could go for it. That's why we have more men committing suicide compared to women. And again, women, they tend to be in touch with their emotions, they tend to talk about things. Men, they bottle things up,
Yeah.
right? So here we're talking about men need to be vulnerable and speak up. You know, find that coach. You know, nowadays we starting to see men even going for conferences, men's conferences, right? Where they can be vulnerable with other men. And sometimes I find men, sometimes they are comfortable seeing a male doctor. That's fantastic. You know, like I always say, be aligned with your physician, be
Mhm.
aligned with your counselor. So yeah, there's many resources, either texting, hotlines. There's always, and I think there's even more now with the COVID-19. The governments have opened all these lines for people to,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Even the Kids Help Phone, I have a partnership with them, and I usually help them annually for their kid walk so kids can talk. And they
good.
recently, later last year, introduced texting because you know these kids nowadays they're hooked on their phone and they
Yeah,
don't want to call nobody, but they can text and
they
say how
can,
they're feeling, and they can sort of coach them away from that thought of they want to end their life. So the thing I think is the real root of the issue when it comes to especially men getting the help they need, Dr. Unati, is it takes them so much to actually ask for it, you
I
know,
know.
like and get it. Like the resources are there, but it's like, oh, I'm strong, I don't need it, And like you said,
Yeah,
what they focus, like I believe strongly, whatever you focus on, you become. Like we could talk about the subconscious mind and how that works, but if you're whatever you feed that, like it will bring it into your reality. So if you're just seeing all the negative, you will just see more negative in your life. If you're looking and focusing on the positive, you'll see more positive show up. But
yeah,
a lot of times our thoughts determine and dictate our reality. And I think people forget that we have so much power up here. So we got to choose our thoughts wisely. And that's the thing too. Sometimes when you feel alone, like you're in that depression state, like you feel like you're all alone. The truth is there's somebody else that's feeling like that, maybe even in your circle. So it's just for you to speak up and say, hey, I can't believe I had this thought the other day, or I've been dealing with this. But that is the first step to saying, hey, something's not right, and I love my life, I love who I am, or maybe I need help, but I need to talk about it, and then we can get the conversation going. So I love what you said there. And then success, let's talk about success. You just summed it up for me, because I love to ask people about what success means to them,
yes,
and
yes,
you said it, but I want you to reiterate it, because that's my definition of success. It's not
yeah,
about we see celebrities, million, billion, who commit suicide.
absolutely.
It's there. They're not happy. So money, and a lot of people are like, what do you mean? Money does not buy you happiness. It buys you
No,
convenience. Yes,
yeah,
we need money. We need to be able to live a good standard of living. But if you're out chasing money, and that's why I say to some clients when they say, hey, I just want to work with you to help me to make more money. I'm like, no, then what? Money is not going to give you true fulfillment. Money is not going to bring you happiness.
yeah,
Money will give you convenience. You need to find what your purpose is, what you're passionate about, and then you'll be rewarded, of course, monetarily by the things you do in business. So what is your definition of success, Dr. Unati?
Thank you so much, Tasha. You know what? Before we get to that, I just kind of thought we touched on all this depression, and some men sometimes don't realize how long should they be depressed to seek help, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So the key thing is when we use some diagnostic tools to look at the symptoms, like you're feeling down, depressed, you are teary, men cry, right?
Yeah.
Yes, quite depressed, and if your sleep is interrupted, you either sleep more, you sleep less, you're eating less, or you're eating more. And sometimes men, they tend to go to the gym. You could easily applaud them. Yes, you could easily applaud a man who goes to the gym and who's in good shape, and that man could be depressed. So men, they tend to shift their attention to things like that, or they work a lot. A wife or a partner could easily say, you know what, my sweetheart is working so hard, he's putting that money aside for us to go on holidays, and that man could be suffering, right? So they tend to shift their attention to things like that, gym and also work, right? And we spoke about the non-specific symptoms there, and these symptoms could last for 2 weeks or longer. So I would like men who are watching us, if you feel these symptoms, please go see your doctor. Don't wait for a year, because that's typically of what we see. So go see your doctor. If you're feeling, or probably feeling the suicidality, go see your doctor. So I wanted to just specify that. And going back to your question about success to me really, it's about happiness, feeling that joy, even if in hard times. Like these are hard times right now, but we need to cultivate joy in the midst of this darkness. There's a saying that says, learn to dance in the rain. I've learned to do that in my difficult times. You know, I always cultivate that joy. And like I said, find those people that make you laugh in these difficult times, and speak, and also find tribe of people that you can be yourself. That's very important.
Mhm.
Find your first five. I always say my first five people are who I am, really. So am I?
Ah, I like that.
Yes. So the first five, I say it also to my son, you know, if you can't show me your friends, then there's something wrong with you or your friends. So the first five people that you spend time with, they will really determine who you are. And also, honestly, sometimes strive to always look up to people who are better than you in terms of what you want to achieve, right? Be
Yeah.
friends or follow. Like the beauty about this thing, we follow Tony Robbins. You know, we have all these people that are successful, we love. And these people, they become part of our lives because of what we've seen. We've seen their dark days. Oprahs, they have all these sad backgrounds, but here they are successful in life. So to me, it's all about navigating life and looking at yourself where you want to be, and also cultivating that joy in the midst of darkness, in the midst of those difficult times. That's success to me. It doesn't matter how much money you have, because sometimes you could have all that money but unhappy inside. That joy to me is success. That's it.
I like you're reading. That's exactly what I say. That's
Yes.
exactly what that's why I
Yeah.
say people, you need to define success for yourself, not by anyone else's standards, you know, because if you live for other people, you'll always be miserable and unhappy, right? But you got to find what brings you true joy and surround yourself with people that are positive. You know, I don't have a lot of friends, and that's for a purpose. That's for a reason. And I'm okay with that. Because the people that are close to me have to bring me joy, have to be the light. They can't bring the darkness in because there's so much darkness already happening. The other day, I watched a video on Instagram. I don't know why I did, and I didn't want to really go on. It was, you know, Black Lives Matter. It was something that was happening with a guy, and I was traumatized after watching it. I was like, why did I watch that? And I had to quickly reshift my mind and say, hey, Natasha,
Yes.
you got to focus on what's within your control. You got to let it go, you know, because if
Let it
you
go.
focus on that, whatever you focus on, you, because if I focus on that, I wouldn't be able to get up and do what I do every day. So there's always something to be grateful for, people. There's always something to look for positivity. Like, you know, there's all these podcasts, you know, people like me and you that are out there sharing inspiration. Like you mentioned, Tony Robbins, the Oprahs, so forth. And the thing is, I want to note that we all have a story. And that is our power, actually, is to be vulnerable enough. I never used to really share my story because I didn't want to be vulnerable. But as a business owner, you have to share those struggles, because that's, for me, is success, is that you have these struggles and you continually overcome. And that's what builds tenacity and strength. And nowadays, like mental strength is like number one. Like the mental health stigma, like, oh, mental health, what do you mean? Like, no, mental strength is like your number one asset, people. So we gotta take care of ourselves. We gotta feed our minds with positivity. I like that 5-finger rule that you have, Dr. Unati.
Five people,
So,
yeah.
and I
You have
have
to,
to
and you
live.
know what, Tasha, you have to revisit that list because it's important. And be
Yeah.
okay with breaking up. You know, my family, they always laughed at me. I've always done the breaking up in friendships. And honestly, it's part of who I am because
Yeah.
I choose who becomes my in my circle. I choose, yes. You know, as energetic as I am, but I definitely choose who I want to hang out with. Right.
Oh, same
So
here.
yes, so it's very important to break up. It's very important, and because you always want to check and see who you're growing. Like you have to watch your garden. You have to watch your garden.
I love that analogy, your
Yeah,
garden, right? We plant seeds and whatever we water them with, they'll grow eventually, but we got to be patient.
exactly.
And I have broken up a lot with people too. Like if you're
Yeah,
in my circle and I see that we're not really growing in like the same direction, not that we have the same goals, but I mean that direction of, achieving greater in life and being that
yeah,
light. And if you're draining my energy, I let you, I have to let you go. That's just how it works. I really have now minimized my time with people who are draining my energy or who want to come in to try and drain my energy. So we have to protect ourselves, our mental space. We got to protect ourselves from those around us. Unfortunately, some people don't come with good intentions. They come to
yeah.
drain, and some people come to build. So we got to have good, that discernment to know who is that, and those that are, like I said, putting the love and the light and all that. Stick with those people, and those that are draining your energy, let it go. Let them
Let it,
go. All right.
let it go.
Okay. Let it go. That's my new saying. So we got
Yeah.
literally 4 more
Because a
minutes
lot of
left.
times people are coming for a season, right? So we need to let go and appreciate seasons. Like, I mean, that's what it is. When it's winter, it goes and it becomes spring. So,
Yes.
yeah, sometimes we tend to want to hold on because of the good experiences we've had with people. But sometimes God allows those people for a certain period of time in our lives.
Yes, and God will bring those people sometimes to show you things that you need
Yeah.
to actually, right? And that could be a whole nother episode. But Dr. Nat, I don't want us to cut off because we literally have like 2 minutes left on the live. There's an hour maximum. But before I let you go, thank you so much for coming and joining me.
Thank
We
you.
are planning a
I
webinar,
did.
people. We haven't set up the date for the webinar for men's. I think we're talking about sex, drugs, and alcohol, but we're going to get back to you on that. But do you have a favorite quote you want to leave us with that maybe you really enjoy, or you say to yourself daily or whenever, that you want to share with those that are watching and that will watch?
Sure. I love Dr. Wayne Dyer. He passed away. I was sad. He has a beautiful history because he grew up in different orphanage homes. And I love one of his quotes where he says, love everything but attached to nothing. You know, be open to everything but attached to nothing. How I look at it is mostly in business. I have had to let go of some business deals or probably work for me to grow. So that's how I look at it. I don't attach a lot of times to stuff like that because attaching sometimes it could mean you're attaching to something toxic, right? That's how I look at it. It could be a relationship, it could be a workspace, because sometimes even work brings a lot of trauma. Men sometimes they're scared to let go because this sometimes the work has defined who they are in the society. So for me, you just need to know your next move. So I love it when he says, be open to everything but attached to nothing. So that's my favorite. And even before I got to know him 10 years ago, that's how I've always lived my life. I've always been open to things, to new things. And it has made me grow in my personal space and also in my professional space.
I love it. What else can I say to that?
Thank
I agree. Like, even in my business, I've had to let certain things go, and certain clients too, like, because it doesn't
Yes.
align with my values or where I want to go. So I appreciate that. We're wrapping up. Thank you so much, Dr. Unati. I don't
Thank you.
want to cut you off, but I want you to let people know, where can they find you at the last minute that we have.
Thank you so much, Tasha. Actually, I'm here also on Instagram as Dr. M Health Corner.
Okay.
Here on Instagram, or my first name, Unati Mkiwane, on LinkedIn, and also on Facebook. Facebook, I also use Dr. M Health Corner. Yeah, and check out my YouTube. I play there. I do a lot of stuff. Even my website, it's basically here on my Instagram. So yeah, I'm everywhere.
All right. Do you hear that, people? And I'm hearing that. Thank you for the love, people. You're so welcome. I hope you found this conversation very valuable. Dr. Unati, you know you're amazing. I love you, girl. I'm so glad
I
that
love you. I can't wait to meet you.
So we'll talk again offline. You know how it is. But I'm going to thank you again for joining me today. And I just got my warning to sign off. So we will talk soon. Again, thank you. You're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing.
Too.
We need more people like you in this world.
Thank you so much, Tasha. Keep doing the good work.
Thank you. I will. It's my purpose.
Yes.
All right, lady. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Wow, people, how was that? I thought that was phenomenal. I'm so grateful for you, Dr. Unati. Thank you again for joining me. To you, those who are watching, I hope that you found and learned some things that were really valuable. Even if you're not a man, maybe you have a brother, uncles, friends that you can say, hey, these are some warning signs. Men have feelings too. Men have stress. Men have to deal with things that they don't want to talk about. So let's make it easier for men to talk about things and be a little bit more vulnerable. If you want to connect with me, people, you know how to reach me, natashabrussell.com, natashabrussell.com. Go on, book your 30-minute free discovery chat. We'll connect, talk about things you might be dealing with, and see how I can help you achieve greater success according to your standards, nobody else. And you know how I like to sign off. Be confident in who you are. Be confident in who you are. Truly, I know it's a process, but love yourself. Be fearless enough to pursue what sets your soul on fire. Be bold enough to own your greatness, because you are great and you got to believe it to receive it. But more importantly, be you, because there's nobody in this world like you. So celebrate you, love you, appreciate you. I maybe don't know you, but I love you and I want to see you succeed. All right. Thanks for joining me today.